That's right.
Five or 6 o'clock, y'all ready? Everybody ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order with the invocation and pledge by the Honorable Les Hip. Nick is out of town on his company business and was planning on zooming in, but seems to be having... Oh, okay, hold on. My bad. A key component is missing. Anybody got any jokes? Sorry, Miller. Ready? All right. Ready? I call the meeting to order with invocation and pledge by Les Hip, who is taking the place of Nick Shealy tonight because Nick is actually out of town at the county business with his company business and was going to zoom in, but has not been able to at this point. So, Mr. Hip, thank you.
Okay. Please bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we ask that you give us wisdom to make the right decisions and fortitude to stick with those. In your name, we humbly pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we move into the county business tonight, I just want to take this opportunity to say one thing. Those of you who may or may not know, our law enforcement was involved in a chase on 26 this past weekend. And I just want to say a big thank you. I see we do have one law enforcement officer back here, well, two here, to the two people who basically sacrificed the possibility of danger to themselves, harm to themselves to protect others. I think it was somewhere 10 to 12 cars that were wrecked in the process of up and down 26. And at the end, the victim actually ended up losing his life. But again, I think our deputies did a phenomenal job from everything that I've heard. And again, anytime that you put your life on the line to protect the citizens of not only this county, but those who are running up and down the interstate, we owe them a great debt of gratitude that we cannot compensate with financial gains. But just want to say again, thank y'all. I know there's been a shooting in Orangeburg County Schools this afternoon. Law enforcement, y'all are an extremely integral part of maintaining safety and security in our communities. And I just want to say all that just before we even start the meeting tonight. Thank y'all for everything y'all do. And please share that with all other members of your staff, EMS, 911, any of them that's involved in having to go to those scenes. We do truly appreciate y'all. And whether it's appropriate or not tonight, I don't know. I just want to start off with that just before we got even anywhere into our meeting, because that is so much more important than some of the stuff we end up having to deal with. But thank y'all for everything. All right, item number 1, adoption of consent agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Second.
Just one comment, very minor comment, but just to keep our record straight. Mr. Bremer, in one set of our minutes for the last general meeting, the name was spelled Carl, C-A-R-L, and then our work session, it was K-A-R-L. Mr. Bremer?
My birth certificate is a K.
Okay. So we'll just need to make that correction on the general minutes.
All right. All right, any other discussion on that? If not, do we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented with changes made? Okay, all it's unanimous. All right, any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion we adopt the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Scurry, second by Ms. Arrowood. All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, tonight, County Council always gets great pleasure out of recognizing people who have served this county for years. Tonight, we've got 4 people. So the employee recognition first is Mr. Graylin Bullard, who has retired, and since he's a neighbor of mine, he has already gone on his 2-week vacation, so he didn't wait around to get a certificate. John Fulmer, Sheriff Department, 15 years. Again, thanks for everything y'all do. Stay up here so we can get a photo opportunity with you. Amelia Shields, 20 years. Probate court. Thank you for your service to the county. That's a lot of years. Crystal Waldron, 20 years. Purchasing director. You spent a lot of money over here. Thank you. When you look at that 15, 15, 20, 20, to the citizens of Newberry County, it's just a lot of pleasure to have people there because they know what's going on and they can do things right, and just having stability means a lot to this county. So thank y'all again for sticking with us through thick and thin. All right, item number 4, public appearances. Laura Neese, Newberry County Coroner, and this is discussion of a transport vehicle. If you come to the podium, please.
Can I take this off? Good. Good evening. At the pleasure of the council. As we discussed probably 2 meetings ago, the desperate need of the coroner's office needing a second transport vehicle. Under your direction, I know the administrator and procurement director went through the motions of putting that request out for bid. There were no bids received for the transport vehicle. So we're kind of back at square one. I know that the administrator and Ms. Waltrip and I have spoken at length in reference to this. Per our discussion this afternoon with the administrator, I'm requesting that County Council give us permission to seek outside the state vendor requirements in order to find a vehicle.
Okay. Tony, would you like to speak to that since you apparently have had conversations?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Thank you. And Ms. Neese and I, she is correct, we have had many discussions about this. This vehicle, unfortunately, has been very difficult to find. We can't get it on state contract. We have sought other vendors not on state contract and are still having issues. What we talked about earlier today, Ms. Neese and I, was proposing to you, if you would accept this, that you give us the authority to either purchase off a state contract if and when the vehicle becomes available, or if not, if a vehicle becomes available from another vendor not on state contract prior to it becoming available on state contract, that we be able to allow, or we be authorized to negotiate directly with that vendor to make the purchase, and that we cap the purchase at $32,000, which is the amount I believe that Ms. Neese had gotten when she did her earlier research into the van that she was looking for. So if you give us that flexibility, hopefully we'll find something either on state contract or otherwise, and we won't have to come back to you for the 4th time to make this purchase.
All right, you've heard the explanation from Mr. McDonald. What are the wishes of council? Any motion to accept this and then discussion? You have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept it with the necessary cap.
I second that, and I know if you've ridden around looking at the car dealerships, they are empty. I don't totally know what's going on, but even here locally, they have no new vehicles.
They can't get the chips out of China.
That's what the biggest thing I've heard, so.
And my understanding is even they're getting ready to start production on 2020 vehicles. So all the ones that are sitting there in 2021 are going to be delivered to the dealerships, but they're not going to run.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we stand right now. And, you know, economics at its finest is starting to kind of rear its head with supply and demand. So car dealerships are going to be able to kind of name their price, which can be also a difficult situation for us. So.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'm in favor of giving them that option. We are definitely in difficult times about locating vehicles. If they can locate one other than a state contract pre-approved, stay within our budget,
I agree too.
go for it.
Well, I think typically state budget is there for benefiting us, but in this situation, if we can get it for what we have budgeted and you find one and get it quicker, I think it only makes sense. So, all right, we got a motion, we got a second. All in favor to allow that to happen? It is unanimous. Thanks, Laura. Good luck
Thank
with
you
that.
very much.
Tony, good luck with
And if
that.
anybody knows of a vehicle, please let me know.
All right, item number 5, ordinance number 07-1521, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 20, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting to a request amend the official zoning map established codified in Chapter 153 Newberry County Code of Ordinances, so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 17.73 acres designated as TMS parcel 523 from RS Single Family to Residential R2. This is the public hearing. Is there anyone to speak pro or con from this particular one? All right, we'll declare the public hearing closed. Have a motion this be the third reading.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mary, second by Les. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Item number 6, ordinance 07-1621, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 20, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend official zoning map established codified in Chapter 153 of the County of Newberry Code of Ordinances, so as to rezone 3 real estate parcels totaling 1,269.78 acres, consisting of tax map parcels TMS 109-6 containing 800 acres and TMS 10911 containing 149 acres and TMS 110-2 containing 320 acres, .78 acres from R2 rural to industrial. This is the second reading. Council, we have 11 people who have signed up for public speaking, which typically comes, in tonight's case, item number 20. We have quite a few parcels. Would y'all like to hear comments of the people before or after?
Before we take our votes.
All right, so anybody speaking on this particular one, I don't know which ones to pull off of here. If you got comments on this one, I think this is the one that's looking at the solar farm. So if you want to come speak to that one and you signed up, please, Frida Kessler, Craig Kessler, Bill Parr, is that the one you want to speak on? Yes. Okay.
My name is Bill Parr. I'm a resident of Newberry County. I live directly 2.5 miles west of here on Belfast Road. Change is not easy for us. I think that definitely solar energy is in our future. Before we had this fiasco in Afghanistan, the news media was consumed by global warming and increasing levels of CO2 in the atmosphere. And this is a technology that works and works very well. And it works without us having to to dig into the earth to extract coal or to cut wood, not having dangerous nuclear energy afterwards. We have had solar panels in our yard for the past 2.5 years. It's the best investment I think I've made since I built my house 26 years ago. And this brings to mind a story that I remember in college that happened right after World War II. Our professor, who actually wrote the textbook we were studying, reminded us of right after World War II when the vets came back, they were having a debate on what was going to be the predominant form of energy on farms to do the field work. And the choices were animals or the new fangled things called tractors. And for the first few years after the war, the animals won. And the deciding factor was, what are we going to do with all these oats if we don't have horses? So, and mules. So I think that's where we stand right now. As Mr. Taylor, the landowner, so accurately pointed out at the hearing Monday a week ago, this is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen in Newberry, it's going to happen in surrounding counties. I've since learned that the tract is over 1,200 acres, and the solar panels are going to take up 1/3 of that, or 400 acres. So there's a big buffer around this proposed project. So I would encourage council to think about what the future of Newberry County is, and that's even before we talk about the economic benefits that accrue to the county treasury. So thank you so much for this opportunity to address Newberry County Council.
All right, thank you. All right, if you're speaking to this one, Mr. Johnson, not this one. Mr. Knowles, Mr. Metz.
I'm Patrick Metz, live at 9166 US Highway 176 down in Palmetto area. And I have been to a couple of y'all meetings, many of meetings and things like that. And I'll present y'all some stuff to add to y'all decision of making decision on changing this piece of property that's coming up. It's as I'm passing out, I kind of highlighted some things in there. As on the front page, it tell you who was at the meeting. And second is where the Mr. Shealy, I guess. Kind of we'll follow through. The first page is where that I know a lot of y'all have been elected to replace the existing Newberry County Councils. And I kind of highlighted at the time when this was done back in 2018. Then you go to page 2, down at number 4. That's tell you about a piece of property that was going to be rezoned here in Newberry County. And that would also was to be a project in. You follow it on down, and you see there was Duke Power. And I think this is the same transmission line that might be serving this ordinance that's up for tonight. You come on down. It was a well-known company that was gonna be involved in this here. And it was supposed to be completed in about 9 to 12 months. That was by 2020. And then you come on down, and the landowner, who's the landowner happened to be, and this thing was passed after the after the public hearing. Then it went on into, had the public hearing, then it went on into the third reading. Soon after the third reading, there was decision of talking with the company that was supposed to be doing this solar farm. And I think that was in September the 5th. I know y'all got to do some of your homework, but September the 5th in 2018, where it went through and approved, where this piece of property was going to be changed to industrial. And then this kind of brings me to what all's going down here tonight. If these pieces of properties, they come in here and get them changed and stuff, how do it affect the years to come? Because this has kind of been on the, back in 2018, we're looking almost, this is 2021. You're looking almost 3 years. And this was going to be the first solar farm that was brought in front of y'all. And maybe between now and next hearing of some sort, I know you'll be hearing a lot of people, maybe we can get some information from reason why it did not go on through it procedure. I hope this one here that's going to be, try to be approved, I hope they're maybe better than they are, but these was a very high company too, I understand. So thank y'all for giving me time. I hope y'all look at it and get some information that get back to the public why this farm might not have made it through. Thanks.
Thanks, Pat. All right, Carl Brummer with a K.
Yes, sir. Gentlemen and lady, I don't think there's any doubt in your mind about what my position is. But I want to reiterate, because I've participated in everything, and I came to you here initially and asked you not to do this because of the environmental concerns that these panels contained is carcinogenic. Now, everything that I told you initially was verified in your little workshop the other day. Your little workshop, how do you dispose of these things when they're at their lifespan at 25 or 30 years? Well, you know, we think we're going to do this, we think we're going to do that, but there is no defined plan as to how to dispose of it, okay? Then, when you ask the question about, well, can these panels be fractured in their lifespan? There's a probability of it. You're talking about 400 to 500 acres, 1%, 4 or 5 acres a year that could fracture and allow this carcinogenic in the soil. What's immediately adjacent to these tracts of property is Little River, okay? It's a water supply that feeds a lot of this county. Now, with the fact that you got these panels that are undisputably got hazardous waste in the interior, undisputably the hazardous waste is a carcinogenic, undisputably there's no plan as to how to dispose or how to eradicate this stuff, and it's right next to a water supply. If this is approved, I submit to you that's bordering on recklessness, okay? That's not in the best interest of the citizens and residents of the county. The truth of the matter is, this probably won't be an issue until all of us are dead. But you are the stewards of Newberry County. You decide the future. Now, do you want to run the risk of exposing the citizens and residents of this county and contaminating the soil to allow this company, and the person that is petitioning you to do this is a shell company that was formulated in the state of South Carolina, but has came in this forum and represented that they are Ecoplex, a large multi-million-dollar corporation. Ecoplex is not the one that is petitioning and asking, okay? And all for the purpose so that they can make money off of this transaction with the landowner and the power company, because it's government funded. The other things that you have not been presented with, which I have raised and asked, is the economic viability of this project. Can this project sustain itself without government subsidies? The answer to that question is no. Okay, it cannot. Okay, it is a wild card at best. Now, here are the options. What is the harm in the county delaying this for 5 or 10 years to see if these panels are refined? Okay, these power lines aren't going to go anywhere. Okay, the substation that they're trying to tap into isn't going to go anywhere. Okay, and you can get better information, better research, and maybe somebody will determine how to handle this hazardous waste. And once again, I remind you, these are not my words. These are the words that the council solicited from the independent experts that came here Monday a week ago and gave you that information. This is hazardous waste, okay? This is hazardous waste for which there is no plan to deal with, okay? There's no defined protocols, no defined procedures. And you're being asked, hey, we're going to give the county money, let us into the county. No, that's not a wise decision, nor is that a responsible decision. Okay. It's not responsible to expose the citizens and residents of this county in the future so that a few gain. And I ask that this be turned down, that this not be allowed, or an alternative, that it be deferred until such time as the technology gets to a point. Now, Mr. Parr is comparing apples to oranges. His little project is apples to oranges. But I do want to point out one thing that he told you. He told you here Monday a week ago that he figured, I mean, he's a smart computer guy. It's going to take him at least 8 years to recoup his investment, okay? It's going to take a third of the lifespan to recoup if he does so by then, and if things stay the same, which are all subject to change, all subject to change. I submit to you that this is a bad idea for the county. And if the county approves this, someone will live to regret it. And I'm afraid that that someone is going to be me and my family because we're next door. And I ask that you deny this petition for those reasons. You do not have valid basis for approving this, and the potential exposure and risk to the county and to the adjoining citizens and to the downstream landowners and families is too great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let's see, Jennifer Dowd, Robert Dowd, I thank you all for another one. Chris Sandifer.
Good evening, Chairman, members of council. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Chris Sandifer. I have offices at 3118 Green Road, Spring Hope, North Carolina. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of South Carolina and multiple other states. I'm also a licensed contractor with the unlimited classification. I served and worked with CP&L, which is now Duke, for the better part of 30 years. The last part of that tenure was interconnecting renewable energy facilities. I serve on the Nash County Planning Board. I'm on my third 3-year term. We have approved so far 38 utility scale solar generator solar farms to date. I'm also a farmer. I'm a landowner, and I've got 100 acres of panels on my family farm. They were put in 2015, and from that standpoint, would tell you that having a stable cash flow and income from farmland is, for a portion of the farmland is a good thing. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. I just want you to know, I gave you that background so that you would know, give some veracity to the statements that I'm going to say. The last time I was here, all I could hear was cadmium, cadmium, cadmium. Well, there is no cadmium in these panels. I don't know where that came from. These are monocrystalline silicon panels. They have no cadmium, zero to nada, none. So I don't know where that came from. I double checked again today. I said, well, there must be something. I went back to the manufacturer. That's not the technology they use. There are some panels that do have that, but not these panels. All I hear is hazardous waste, hazardous waste, hazardous waste. There's approximately 3 grams of lead that's used in the solder to make the connections, which would be the same as in that screen right there, probably some in that clock, probably in your cell phones. The background lead that's already in the ground is, for the top 6 inches, exceeds the little bit of lead that would be in the panels. The panels are sealed. They have 2 layers of plastic on the top and the bottom. They have 2 layers of glass on the top and the bottom, just like very similar to a windshield on your car. So if for some reason they're hit, they don't shatter. It's safety glass. And so there's nothing, no liquids inside of these panels. There's nothing can leach out of these panels into the soil. These panels undergo intensive testing by EPA standards, and they pass. I would want to say that First Solar in Ohio recycles these panels now. They have a plus cash value now. Right now they take the glass, they take the aluminum, they take the silicon, they take this thing apart, and they actually pay because they are damaged. You can't put in this many panels and somebody didn't back into one of them or run a forklift over it or something. That happens. And so there are a lot of panels being put in right now, and a lot of panels already being recycled right now. So the facilities in this, and there are new facilities, and not in this country, but in other countries that I'm sure that we will adopt eventually, because there's some other countries ahead of us that use nano-sized particles, and that's how they recycle them. And so that technology is already there. I wrote a paper a couple months ago for 2021. The solar technology without subsidies is the cheapest form of electricity in the United States. It's $33 a megawatt. And I didn't make this up. This comes straight off the Department of Energy's website. The next one below that is natural gas. And it's like $34, $35 a megawatt. And then when you go to coal and nuclear, they're twice that much. So they're a lot more expensive. So this is without subsidies. So to say that they're not economically viable, they're going in all over the world, not just in the United States, because they are the most economic way to produce electricity. So I just, from the fact that I've got them, I know I'm not going to be alive when the panels on my farm are going to be taken out. But I can promise you, I didn't leave my son with a headache. I've been in this business for 12 years. I know that from the ins to the outs. I put them in, taking them out. I know it, and this is the future. This is where it's going. Not going to build any more coal plants. Not going to be more coal ash. Not going to be any more nuclear plants in the country. Not going to be any more spent nuclear fuel rods. Those are real hazardous waste. And so I would just like to say, in my professional opinion, and without any equivocation or hesitation, that this project is installed the way it's designed will not materially endanger the health and safety of the citizens of Newberry County. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Anybody got any questions?
I do. If the inside of these panels are no liquids, is there any gases in them?
Any what?
Gases.
I can't understand you.
Any gases?
No gases.
Gases.
It's solid state. It's just like that
It's
screen.
solid.
So instead of emitting light, it absorbs light.
So you're telling us tonight that there's no hazardous from these panels at all?
I'm saying there's a minute portion of the solder that is used to make the connections has lead in it. But it's much less lead than it would be if somebody went out there and shot a shotgun shell with 1 ounce of lead. I'm talking about 35 grams. Okay, and somebody go out there and shoot a shotgun shell. If you have a dove hunt over here and go out there and shoot, 2 or 3 boxes, or if you had a big dove hunt, hundreds of boxes of, it's nothing like that. The amount of lead in one of these panels is much less. And the lead that's in a shotgun shell is just sprayed all over so that it can be dissolved with the acid rain. The animals can ingest it. The little bit of lead that's in these panels are sequestered between layers of plastic and layers of glass in an aluminum frame, and there's no way for it to get out. It's part of the circuitry.
So you're explaining to us tonight that there's no hazardous chemicals could come from these panels at all?
No, sir. These things, they're tested with the toxic characteristic leach procedure that the EPA requires them to be tested. And they put these panels, they grind them up and they put them under some severe testing to try to accelerate some type of leaching out of these panels. And these panels passed that toxic characteristic leach procedure test, so that if they wanted to, you could put them in a class 3 landfill, which is the same thing that you put household trash in. You don't have to put them in a hazardous waste. They won't be done that way. They're too valuable. They're way too valuable to throw in a landfill anymore. And you wouldn't put a car in a landfill. And a car's not worth near what these panels are. But I'm just saying, people don't dump cars in a landfill. They're worth something. It's scrap metal.
Other questions?
So if it did leak, you're saying, close to our riverbed, there's no danger that come from in our water supply?
I agree with that statement. No damage to your water supply.
Okay.
And that's my professional opinion.
And you do have a disposal facilities available now?
In Ohio, it's just like anything else. When you have get to a critical mass, then components can become economically viable to capture. If you just had one panel, it probably wouldn't be worth trying to figure out a way to recycle. You'd probably just strip the glass, aluminum off. But when you have hundreds or thousands it gets to a point that you can set up a procedure, a manufacturing procedure, that you can actually take these things apart. Right now, if you took the phone, when you take this phone, I got it in my pocket and I throw it away, that phone is 50% by weight recyclable. The other 50% of this phone weight, and of course we're talking about millions of phones, it goes into a landfill. Right now, the First Solar is recycling 95% of the weight of those panels. And the 5% does not include the circuitry and the glass and the metals. Those are valuable. They're reclaiming those.
So you're saying the panels are safe for Newberry County?
I'm sorry?
You present to us tonight that the solar panels is definitely safe for Newberry County?
Yes, sir. I'm saying, I'm from North Carolina. We've got 7,000 megawatts already installed. That was it by the end of 2021. And they were installing them all this year, but they only update their records at the end of the year. So I'm saying that this is, we didn't put 7,000 megawatts of hazardous waste across North Carolina. We did not do that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Sam.
Thank you.
And I think we have one other person, Matt Flores. Do you want to speak to this one? No? Okay.
I'll go way by time.
All right. All right, we've heard from all the people who want to speak about it. Council, this is second reading. Do we have a motion to be second reading after the comments? Motion by Mr. Hipp, second by Mr. Reader. Discussion. I'll start with some discussion. Couple things. One, the alluding to government subsidy. Even if there is government subsidy, it won't be paid by Newberry County citizens per se. It's not Newberry County tax dollars going into it. Maybe some federal money somewhere going into it, but not Newberry County per se. I've been told since last meeting that about every one of us probably had one at one time, the big screen monitors that were used for computers. Those computers had more hazardous waste in those than obviously what we're hearing that these here have tonight. Also, the owner is continuing to retain some ownership, so the liability is going to be shared by the owner. So it's not like he's just hands up giving it to somebody else in the shell company having the total responsibility for it. Now, flipping to the other side of where it looks like I'm going both ways with this thing, I am truly seeking what I think is what is the best decision for Newberry County. The landowner is actually asking to rezone 1,269 acres from R2 to industrial, but we're only looking at 487 acres. Why would we rezone the 782 acres? Is that going to give them the authority to go ahead and develop the entire 782 acres later on without coming back before council? And these are just questions I won't answer before the next meeting. And then, of course, I think it will all be taxed at a much higher rate than what agricultural tax basis brings in on us. And I also think that rollback taxes is applicable to this for the new law, I think states 3 years, not 5 years.
If it goes through economic development, it is not rollback.
Okay, if it goes through economic development, all right. And then again, basically, if we approve all 1,269 acres, do we have any opportunity to limit the size of it if we were so to decide to do that at a later time? Those are just questions that I have that I'd like to have answered before it's all said and done. However, I'm just trying to find out information before I make a final decision. Other comments from other council members?
We had an email that had been answered. We had asked about in South Carolina, if you can help me recall that the oldest farm in South Carolina was 28 years old, and there had not been any problems with it.
Yes, that was the question that I asked the other night, and they clarified it.
So that has been answered to the council.
Other questions or other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We did get, in our work session, we did get opinions from unbiased experts in this area. I asked the question about were there leachables, and those experts also said there were no leachable elements within these. So that's not something that would get into your water supply. And so, with our current requirements of buffering and having viewed this property, having seen that it would not be an eyesore, I don't believe, personally, based on the information that we received at our work session from the experts there and some additional research I've done, I don't believe that we're dealing with a hazardous material that's going to be something that's going to be harmful to our environment or our county in the future. So anyway, I'll be voting in favor of Second Amendment on this, second reading.
Any other comments? We've got a motion, we got a second, we got any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, while I couldn't be here for the work session, I just want to make known that I did get with Ms. Davenport, did watch the work session in its entirety, and have gotten all the other updates as well. I have found the hardest part of being on county council is you have to have a vision for 10, 15, 20 years from now and how to get there. And certainly with any project, there could be unintended consequences. But based off what I've heard, I just don't believe that anybody on this council would in good faith allow somebody to put some hazardous material out anywhere in our county. And so I think we've researched it well. I think we've been informed well by the professionals, and I do plan on supporting this at second reading as well.
All right, with that, anybody else got any comments? Got a motion, we got a second, all in favor? It is 4-5, Mr. Scurry opposed?
Yes, I'm not fully sold out for it yet.
Okay. All right, we got a 5-1 with Mr. Scurry being the nay vote, excuse me. All right, item number 7, ordinance number 07-1721, an ordinance authorizing the execution of equipment lease purchase agreement in the amount of not exceeding $481,000 relating to the purchase of certain equipment by Newberry County, authorizing the execution of other necessary documents and papers and other matters relating thereto. This is the third reading. Have a motion to move forward with this?
I make a motion.
Motion by Mary, second by Mr. Reader. Any additional discussion? Okay, all in favor? It is unanimous. All right, this is another one of the zoning changes, ordinance number 08-1821, an ordinance amending a zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 20, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established, codified in Chapter 153 of the Newberry County Code of Ordinances, so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 1.82 acres designated as TMS parcel number 404-48 from industrial to R2. Katie, would you please come to, oh, you're already up here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. The property owner is asking to be rezoned to R2 rural. As you see, R2 rural is adjacent to his property. He is wanting to use this property for residential use and most particularly would like to put a manufactured home on the property. Planning Commission and staff both recommend the rezoning to R2 rural.
Okay. All right. As we did earlier, since we are making, again, this will be the first reading, but is there anybody on this list tonight to speak to that one? Okay. Hearing none, do we have a motion to speed the first reading?
Make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Arrowood, second by Mr. Reader. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, item number 9, ordinance number 08-1921, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 20th, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established, codified 153 County Code of Ordinances, so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 2 acres designated as TMS parcel number 29837 from limited commercial to R2 rural. This is the first reading. Katie?
The property owner has asked for the rezoning for the purpose to use the property again for residential. Many years ago, it was rezoned to limited commercial for the use of, for a repair of a lawnmower shop repair. In the last couple of years, that lawnmower shop has gone out of business, not being used. So he would like to get the property rezoned back to R2 rural so that he can move his residents there, and he is looking to put a manufactured home on the property. And as you can see, it's surrounded by R2 rural.
Where's the road?
The pink shaded,
That's it. Mhm.
the pink shaded Quaker Road.
Well,
This is actually the building that's
Gotcha.
already there.
I know what you're talking about now.
All right.
Is he planning to move into the building that was the shop?
No, sir, his plan is just to use that building as a garage or hobby shop, not for any kind of commercial use. And he would move a manufactured home on the property that he would live in.
And all the zoning around that allows for manufacturing homes?
Yes, sir,
doesn't it?
everything around it is R2 rural.
R2.
All right. You've heard the explanation from Ms. Katie Works. What are the wishes of council? Have a motion?
I make a motion that the.
We already got a motion, haven't we? No? Okay.
I make a motion that the ordinance be accepted.
All right. Do we have a second? Second by Mary. Any other discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, item number 9, ordinance 08-1921, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted on June 20, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established codified in Chapter 153 of the County of Newberry Code of Ordinances, so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 2 acres designated as TMS parcel number 298 from limited commercial to R2 rural.
I thought
That's the one we just got through with, y'all.
we just did.
Yep.
We got too many of these tonight. All right, item number 10, ordinance number 08-2021, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry and adopted to June 20, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend Code of Ordinance so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 13.0165 acres designated as TMS parcel number 3421 from R2 rural to general commercial. Okay, Ms. Wertz?
They're asking for the rezoning from R2 rural to commercial. At this time, they are just looking for the rezoning for future commercial property sales. As you can see, it's the triangle piece there. It does have commercial on 2 sides of the property. I do want to point out, Planning Commission does not recommend the rezoning.
What about staff?
Staff does.
Where's that located?
It's the triangle piece. If you see all the pink, red, it's right there.
It's behind the Piedmont Tech.
Correct.
Would you explain what is around it?
Right now, there is a house on the property. It has been explained to the property owner that if this property does get rezoned to commercial, they are allowed to stay residential until they are vacated out and a business comes in. They can use the house for business purposes, but once they are not residential anymore and it does go to a business type structure, it cannot go back to being lived in as a residence. So it can stay residence until the first business moves into it. After that, it cannot be moved back into as a residential property if it is rezoned. You do have residential use across Pender Ridge and to the right-hand side. All of that is residential. The back side of it is commercial use.
They're requesting commercial,
They're asking to be rezoned to commercial from R2 rural.
and you're saying the backside is commercial?
Everything that shaded the pink color on the map is currently commercial. The
All right.
green is residential R2 rural.
All right, Katie, for the purpose of people in the audience knowing and those who maybe are on YouTube viewing outside, explain what commercial can be used for.
It's pretty broad. Businesses, hospital use, car sales. It's a pretty wide open zoning classification.
What are the, you say all that in pink around that contiguous, can you pick out a couple of uses there and tell us what they are?
That's
This is
Piedmont.
Piedmont Tech right here. This is Stokes Trainer here. This right here is mostly the medical, I think the dialysis center's over here and a couple other medical uses. And then all of this right here is all residential.
So he's saying one side is residential and the other side is commercial.
Everything that's green is residential. Everything that is pink is commercial currently.
It serves, or it has both possibilities of being contiguous to commercial, and it has
Yes, sir.
residential.
Correct.
What was the reasoning for the zoning committee to vote against it?
Planning Commission said that until the seller had a confirmed buyer, they did not want to commit to a rezoning.
Okay. All right. I think we do have some people here tonight to speak to that one. Do y'all want to hear the people before we make a vote again?
Yes.
All right. Again, I don't know who's calling for what. Frida Kessler? You and Craig coming together? Yes, sir. All right. All right.
Okay. Breathe a little bit here. I'm Frida Kessler. This is my husband, Craig Kessler. I own the property on 206 Pender Ridge Road. And it's Pender Ridge Road and Kynard Street. It has 2 entrances onto the property. I'm asking that the property with 13 acres be rezoned to commercial for the possibility of selling to a company or a business that could bring growth to Newberry County. This is prime property to zone commercial for economic development of Newberry County. I do not have anyone interested at this time because I can't put it for sale as commercial unless, the county council approves my request. And commercial buyers are not going to purchase a residential dwelling. We have residential as well as commercial properties on Wilson Road, which is how Pender Ridge Road could be. If you allow me to give you a little bit of history, my grandparents, Shumperts, the Hazels, and the Sheeleys they all built their homes on what was then Route 2, which is now Kynard Street. On the corner of Wilson and Kynard, which is at that time was still a 2-lane road, was the Giant Burger, where the BB&T is now. My point here is I, like some of the other homeowners, grew up what is now Kynard Street. As time went by, Newberry started expanding, and Newberry's growth developed all around Wilson Road. Like the Hazel property, for example, that's where the dialysis center is at now. Something that we are blessed to have for our citizens. In other words, everything can't stay the same if we want Newberry to grow. My property for many years was rural, but to be able to use it for the benefit of economic development, I'm asking you to rezone it as commercial. Why would homeowners want to deny this, the same county that we were raised in? Why deny the county of this growth? We want to grow, not die like other small towns. Sorry, pages won't turn fast enough. Approximately 2/3 of my property juts up to the commercial property, as Katie was saying just now. So why wouldn't I want to sell commercial to benefit the county? We have Newberry Oncology, we have the dialysis center now, BB&T, Piedmont Tech, Family Dollar, all of these and others that surround is in the same area on Kynard Street. And like I said earlier, my property faces Kynard Street and the side of it faces Pender Ridge. We could potentially expand education in our county. Piedmont Tech may want to add to their existing building to grow their student population, and Newberry College may also need space to grow their student population. And at the end of Pender Ridge is Mike's Produce, the Tent, and the Trinity Taxi Service, 2 additional businesses that's been on Pender Ridge for quite a while. The list goes on, and again, I ask, why would anyone want to deny the county of this growth? Pender Ridge residents expressed their concerns to the Planning Zoning Committee about more traffic on Pender Ridge Road if my property was changed to commercial and a business was placed there. They also complained of holes in the road and parts of the road caving in. More traffic on Pender Ridge Road and holes in the road has nothing to do with me asking the county to zone my property as commercial. The roads fall under DOT, therefore the homeowners on Pender Ridge need to contact them. Are we really going to deny our county economic development and growth based on our road conditions? Are you going to deny economic development or new jobs or additional space for students because of road conditions? Are property owners going to tell the people that they can't use Pender Ridge Road to visit the tent, or tell them they can't use Kynard Street to get to Pender Ridge Road as a cut-through? Other people in the county is going to use Pender Ridge to visit the tent and other properties out there. Are property owners going to tell these people that they can't use Pender Ridge as a cut-through? No, they're not. The world changes, and we hope for the better. And to make this property commercial to help the economic growth of Newberry County is definitely a good change. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
Anybody got any questions for Frida or Craig? All right, thank you for your information.
Thanks.
All right, there's Mr. Johnson or Johnson on here. Edward Knowles. Yes, sir.
Good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the council. My name is Edward Knowles. I am one of the property owners, the homeowners. My home is on this property. adjacent to the property that's been requested to be rezoned. The zoning request, as we've been presented so far, is purely based on speculation. I want to get more money for my land, so I want to get it zoned commercial. There's no, as we've heard from a previous speaker, there's no plan for what business might go in there. We simply want to rezone it so we can get more money when we sell it. In my view, and again, it's my personal view, I will grant you that, the purpose of this whole process is to provide council the means to go about and rezone properties as necessary for the benefit of Newberry County. While a very honorable quest is to do things for the benefit of Newberry County, as we've heard, we don't know what business might go into that property. It's simply being requested to be rezoned to general commercial. We don't know that that's going to be truly a business or benefit to the county other than potential tax purposes. It's very honorable that we want to benefit the county, but let's benefit the county by following the process, meeting the requirements of the rezoning regulations and things like that, so that county can go in and make an informed decision. Yes, let's rezone that because this type of business is going in there. As mentioned, my home is adjacent to this property. As I've just learned just before this meeting, one of the potential purposes for general commercial is a automobile storage yard. We don't know that that's what's going in there, so let's rezone it. It's just one of the potentials. Granted, there should be other checks and balances that are brought into play to prevent a junkyard from going into that location, but rezoning it right now without that information removes one of those checks and balances going into this largely residential area. Yes, the backside of it's already zoned commercial. That's the backside of Piedmont Tech. That's almost all that area is the backside of Piedmont Tech. There's no traffic through the backside of Piedmont Tech. Yes, during the Planning Commission, several of the adjacent property owners mentioned some issues with Pender Ridge. We also properly mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting that that wasn't the purpose of the Planning Commission or the council at this point, is to resolve the traffic issues on Pender Ridge. That's just another problem that is brought into play by just blindly, and I apologize if that's a negative connotation, by blindly rezoning this property to general commercial. No one in this county, for the most part, is opposed to economic development. What the county residents do want is to go into economic development with a very clear picture of what's coming, what could go into that area, okay? And what this homeowner is asking the council is, let's not rezone that property simply for speculative sales. Let's follow the process and rezone the property when we have a definitive buyer and can follow those checks and balances for what might move into this, at this point, a rural area where other homes are. And so we can make that informed consent of what might go into there and give the homeowners an opportunity to voice some concerns or say, yeah, buddy, let's go do that right now. But for now, it's a speculative sale simply to get more money out of the property. Let's wait and rezone the property should it be necessary in the future and going in with a bright-eyed picture of exactly what commercial properties are going into that area. Thank you for your time.
Before
Yes, sir.
you leave, could you point out your residence location?
And see, this is I'm right here. This is the property under consideration that's
Yes.
been requested for rezoning. My home is on this area right here.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Jennifer Dowd, Nichols.
Thank you, sir. I'm Jennifer Nichols. I grew up in this area. I guess I'm standing up as a family spokesperson to point out my brother lives here, my sister lives here, my parents live here. And just to give you the interest that we have in what's going on. And to kind of reiterate what Mr. Knowles said, it's really not in opposition to economic development. It's not in opposition to someone being able to maximize the benefit of their land, but it is having more informed knowledge about what's going to go there. I pulled up the county ordinances, and it's about 13 pages of uses that range from residential to rural to general commercial to industrial. And some of the uses within the general commercial, I know y'all are aware of them. I wasn't quite aware of some of them. But it could be anything from a residence above like storefronts, kind of like what we have on Main Street, a rooming and boarding house, as Mr. Knowles said, a junk vehicle storage, although that is more of a conditional use of general commercial. It can be any kind of educational purposes. Nursing homes is a conditional, but amusement arcades, a bed and breakfast, drinking places, hotels and motels, a restaurant, a funeral home or a crematory can go there. All of which has its own, I guess, spectrum of what it can bring to the community, both positive and negative. We don't know what's going to go there. Is it going to bring more traffic? Pender Ridge is already congested as it is, and so is Kynard, and the condition of the road here nor there is going to increase traffic in a largely residential area on that side. The infrastructure is not supported by the county. The city takes water down Kynard Street only, takes a right onto Pender Ridge, and then another right onto Mount Bethel. County water and sewer is not offered anywhere else down Pender Ridge Road. Even with all the other commercial entities that was pointed out earlier that border Wilson Road and even go down Pender Ridge and even Kynard Street, water is only offered on Kynard Street alone, and that's by the city. It's not even offered by the county. So the infrastructure is there, and so when we talk about positive, economic development, the infrastructure needs to be there in order to attract the type of good economic development we want, and not just, no offense to Dollar General, but putting up another Dollar General like we're seeing popping up everywhere, where then all of a sudden, we have trash, and we have the lights from the parking lot, and we have the noise and the traffic from the trucks coming in and out where they're depositing their loads and loading their inventory. I did a slight little research, talked to a few friends about the commercial properties that are available in Newberry, and it's predominantly along the Wilson Road and Main Street corridors, which I think is where the county and the city is wanting to focus our economic development and attract commercial and industrial. Right now, there's about a little over 152 acres. By my math, along the Wilson Road corridor, there's still about 100 acres, give or take, that is available for general commercial development. Empty buildings, vacant land, large acres, tracts such as this, 13, 14, 17 acres. It's undeveloped. I mean, it's not being used. So for us to go or for the county to go and approve the zoning to general commercial at this time and not know what's going to go there, I think it would be putting that community to say, hey, we're going to come up and just give them carte blanche to sell it to whomever they want to and do whatever they want to with it. What we're simply asking is for more information before it's allowed to go, to general commercial, to see, is it going to be a good fit for the community, and is it going to benefit and not just perhaps harm the residences in that area. I remember growing up, and I know Mr. Trainer very well, but I remember when he put his stadium lightings up in his parking lot for his dealership. You couldn't see the stars anymore. I remember growing up in that area and always being able to see it, and it's difficult now. The road noise has increased. Piedmont Tex Lighting has added to the glow that we get in the area, to where we probably don't need a yard light if you're at my parents'. The kids can play at night and see in the yard pretty well without the utility light that my parents have in its backyard. So those are the things that we, my family, when we've talked about it, would ask for the consideration, is to get more information, to get more details about what's going to go there, and not just kind of give a free ticket to put a general commercial there and not know the use and the purpose and how it could ultimately impact the residences along in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions for Jennifer or Ms. Dowd? Nichols? All of them? Mr. Robert?
I think you about covered it. I'm not much of a public speaker anyway, so, but I think you transferred my feelings and feelings of the community pretty well.
All right, thank you. All right,
Mr. Chairman.
yes,
I got here too late to sign up.
yes, okay, yes.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to address the council and thank them for the opportunity to do so. And there's nobody in this county that is more for quality
Name
development
We need
of
your
Carroll
name.
Kunkel.
Yes.
More for quality development of Newberry County and economic growth than I am. I've lived here my whole life. We've owned a number of businesses and still own two in Newberry County, and I would very much like to see our county develop in a positive and concise method. I don't think, sometimes we think appropriately when we look at tracts of land like this that would make an excellent residential tract, if you take it in conjunction with some of the other properties nearby. I own 80 acres across the street from it that is wide open, which, you know, my children will more than likely develop into residential. My sister owns 17 acres across the Counter Street side of it, which will more than likely be developed into residential by her children. And the West own land across the road from Mount Bethel-Garmony Road. So you've got a lot of long-term residential roots in this area, just like Jennifer said. And there are plenty of available spaces for commercial growth on that Wilson Road corridor. This is the other end of it. This is the end towards Clinton. This is not the end towards Prosperity. And I just did a quick survey the other day, just driving within 1/4 mile of this property. There are 25 available vacant properties and/or commercial buildings for rent. So there's definitely some inventory out there already. And I would just implore that the county think about some of the other industries that we've brought into our county that have certainly been helpful, but we have a hard time, it seems, to attract quality residential roots in this county. You know, we don't have a whole lot of people that are our upper management or skilled personnel from some of the industries that we do have that live in or near the city or the proximity of the city in Newberry County. A lot of them live at Lake Murray. But that doesn't bring necessarily any better quality conditions for living here in Newberry County. And it's obviously a need. That little Newberry Landing development that just was commenced about a year ago has already sold out phase 1 and is building phase 2. And that is in the general vicinity of this property. So, you know, we're not against economic development. I personally thought Piedmont Tech would probably procure this piece of property. If that's the case, I won't have any objections to that. But I would very much like council to encourage Piedmont Tech to offer more technical and hands-on campus facilities here in Newberry so that our Newberry County residents don't have to drive back and forth to Greenwood, where is not always possible, and the economic cost of that have dramatically risen in recent months. So there's a definite shortage of those types of skills here that we maybe could affect, and I would not object to something like that. But I just would implore that the county carefully evaluate their decision on this with the ambiguity that surrounds just zoning it to general commercial. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, anybody else that didn't get to sign up for this particular one? All right, thanks for everybody's input. Helps us make hopefully better and more informed decisions. So, all right, this is the first reading. Do we have a motion this be the first reading? Motion by Mr. Scurry, second by?
Mr. Chairman, I will give a second to this to allow, since it's first reading, and we have 2 additional readings, and we've got formal public comment, and there may be some additional information that might be gathered by both parties. And so by seconding this motion, I'm not agreeing to support it throughout the process, but I will second it at this point.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Any additional discussion?
I too kind of feel the same way. You know, I'll support it this first time, but I want to look into it further.
I'll just be blatantly honest about it. I don't like changing zoning if I don't have a clue what's going there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a risk that puts the county at jeopardy and at best. Of course, I know Piedmont Tech now has a new president who would be willing to consider offering, again, being at the Career Center for the number of years I've been there. And when you look at us as a manufacturing state, I would love to see Piedmont Tech expand. And when you look at the configuration of that particular piece of property, all that pink, most of the ingress, egress to all of that pink is coming off of Wilson Road. So really the continuity of the road on the backside really does not fit, where it currently egresses. But again, I'd like to seek more information on this one before we make a decision on it. Again, I don't like approving something we not know, we've been blindsided with what could potentially be there. All right, we got a motion, we got a second. We got anybody else want to say anything?
I agree with that totally. If that was something definite that was going there and we knew exactly what it was, I'd be more willing to vote in favor of it. But not knowing what's going there, that's really scary.
All right.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Mr. Chair. I had nothing but respect for Craig and Freedom, Miss Kessler, nothing but big love for you guys. If we knew something that was going there, if we knew it fit with that development, I would feel much differently about that. So, again, it's not that I don't think that that's a good idea. I just would like to have a better idea.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second.
Mr. Chairman, just one more, just question. If we turn down this ordinance, this rezoning, are we not, we're not allowed to bring this up again for rezoning for 1 year? So even if they consequently find that Piedmont Tech would like to buy the property to expand to, we could not do that for a year. So that's why I said I wouldn't mind, I can't say that I support this, but I'm just saying maybe we ought to give it, we got 3 readings here. Maybe we ought to give them an opportunity to come back with something other than a blank check.
How long can we delay a second reading?
Well, we can delay it as long as we want to. Whether or not we want to, that is 1 meeting or 4 meetings. But we can, we could allow it to be postponed for second reading. I'm just trying to make sure we don't shut the door on a potential that we've said would be an acceptable potential. We've sat here and said Piedmont Tech would be great. If we say no right now, then they can't do anything with it for a year as far as commercial, even if they had Piedmont Tech. That's my only comment.
Tony, looking for advice from above my level of intelligence. If the person that is submitting this for ordinance change, zoning change, if they withdraw their ordinance, it does not delay them another year. If something comes along, they could. Am I correct?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure they have an out to make.
But if we vote no tonight,
It shuts it down.
then it's done
Yeah.
for you.
So we got a motion, we got a second for first reading. All in favor?
I'm going to vote yes, just to give them
Just
that opportunity.
That's,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because I just, there's too much unknown there, and I'm sorry. I have great respect for y'all too. It's just that I
But
don't
to
want
keep
to.
from shutting it down.
Yeah, I don't want to shut your door.
I don't want to shut you down, but
Don't want to put you in a precarious situation that could.
my first thoughts when I looked at it is Piedmont Tech, you know, this is what, adjacent to them, and that maybe it would be something, just like y'all said, would go in where they could expand some of their programs. So that was my first thought when I looked at it after getting the agenda. So,
All right, thank you. Thank you all. Thanks for everyone that came to speak about it, both positive and negative. We appreciate you. Item number 11, ordinance 082121, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 2016 so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established, codified in Chapter 153 of the County of Newberry Code of Ordinances so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 1.51 acres designated as TMS parcel 687-1-2-11 from RS Single Family Residential to R2 Rural. This is the first reading. Katie, is there anything you want to say about that one? Sorry, is there anything you want to say about that one, Katie? Item, ordinance, the number 11 one?
Yes. Currently, right now, it is zoned RS, which would not allow for a manufactured home. The potential buyer is looking at this property to put a manufactured home on the property. All the darker green is R2 rural currently. The bits of the yellowish green is RS, which would not allow for a manufactured home. There is a lot of manufactured homes on this area, so they're asking to go to R2 rural for the purposes of a manufactured home.
Okay. All right, you got the information for Katie. Do we have a motion to be the first reading? Okay.
I will, Katie, if you will, what was the feeling of staff? And
Planning Commission and staff both recommend this rezoning.
Thank you.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Hibb, second by Mr. Reader. Any discussion? First of all, let me go back. Anybody on this sign-up sheet that wants to speak to either one of these? Okay, any additional discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, y'all, I'm trying to keep up with my check marks on these things. Item number 12, ordinance 082221, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted June 20th, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map, established codified Chapter 153 of the County of Newberry Code of Ordinance, so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 16.43 acres designated as TMS parcel number 576-8 from R2 rural to industrial. This is the first reading. Katie, you want to speak to that right quick?
Yes, this is, this ordinance and the next one are for two pieces of property that the county recently purchased to expand the Mid-Carolina Commerce Park. This first piece is currently vacant, doesn't have anything on it, but potentially would have an industrial use for the Mid-Carolina Commerce Park.
All right, you heard the explanation on that one. Do we have a motion to be the first reading? Motion by Mr. Reader, second by Ms. Arrowood. Any discussion?
Again, same thing, staff and
Planning Commission both recommend.
All right, anybody from the public speaking pro or con on this one? Okay. All right, got a motion, we got a second. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. Thank you. All right, item number 13, ordinance 082321, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the County of Newberry adopted on June 20, 2016, so as to amend the zoning map, acting on a request to amend the official zoning map established, codified in Chapter 153 of the County of Newberry Code of Ordinances, so as to rezone one real estate parcel totaling 4 and 6,400 acres designated as TMS parcel number 576-9 from R2 rural to industrial. Katie?
This is the same scenario. There is a little bit of difference on this one. Currently, there is a house on the property that is currently lived in. Newberry County made an agreement with the current renters that once December 31st, I believe, comes here, they will have to vacate the premises and it will not be used for residential use after that. Planning Commission and staff both recommend.
All right.
I think we knew this as when we purchased it.
Yes, we did.
This is part of the continuance.
Yes. All right, do we have a motion to be first reading? Motion by Mr. Reader, second by Mr. Hill. Any discussion? Anybody from the public? I don't think it is. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, If we can go back to Pender Ridge for 1 second, I want to give you something else just to possibly think about. And Taylor, if you can go back to that slide, I want to throw in there that one thing just to consider, I don't know that if they will or will not do this, but they do have the opportunity to annex into the city of Newberry based on the city of Newberry lines. So that could be a potential consideration that, hey, we can't get it here, let's annex into the city of Newberry, try to get it rezoned there. So that, not saying it will or will not happen, just letting y'all know that that could potentially happen.
Just, all right, let's go back to 13 right quick and get this one out of the way first, and if we want to go back there, we'll jump back to that one again. All right, first reading on the ordinance, on number 13, ordinance 08-2321. Do we have a motion to be the first reading? We've already got a motion second. All right, any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous. All right, now going back to what Katie just told us, I want to just take that for information.
Just for, consideration, it's not been mentioned, but sitting here thinking that could be a possibility that they choose to do.
Yeah, and I guess we'll just cross that bridge if it occurs. Okay, thank you. Item number 14, Resolution 0421, a resolution creating a commission for the review and selection of projects to be funded by the reimposition of a capital project sales tax in Newberry County and other matters related thereto. Do we have a motion to adopt this resolution? Motion by Mr. Reader, second by Mr. Hill. Discussion, I'll just say we got to get started on this. And again, folks, if you're out there and cannot see the things that Newberry County has been able to accomplish with the capital project sales tax that has not been put on your back, please ask for those projects, because we've accomplished a lot with the capital project sales tax that has not been on the burden of the taxpayers in Newberry County. All these people passing through, coming into the Opera House and whatnot, they're helping to fund a lot of our projects. So this is something we got to get started on, and hopefully we'll have another successful one, and appreciate those who have supported it in the past. So with that being said, we got a motion, we got a second. All in favor?
Wait.
Yes,
Just
Mr. Hill. Go for it.
Little discussion.
Yes.
I had some constituents ask me some questions, and I want to clarify it for anybody who's watching YouTube. And this will not be an additional 1 cent sales tax. We will be concluding the current 1 cent sales tax, and this will be, if it's passed, a continuation of it. Also, this commission will only make recommendations, and the council can approve those recommendations, but the public has the final say-so in a public referendum in the November election. So we're not voting on the tax. We're just voting on establishing a commission that will study and make recommendations to this council and receive recommendations from throughout the county for those entities that could be benefited by this.
Very valid point, too. The current 1 cent will sunset, and this will be a continuation with another, just a penny that will not be an additional, and you're correct. And then all the municipalities and all will also get to contribute and participate in the process. So it's just starting up a process that will allow for projects to be presented, hopefully, again, for the benefit of Newberry County and Newberry County citizens. That's great clarification. All right, all in favor? It is unanimous. All right, item number 15, consideration to approve the low bid from the Palmetto Landscaping and Lawn Care in the amount of $30,000 for landscape maintenance for the 219 Interchange and Industrial Park. Crystal Waldrop, Purchasing Director.
Thank you. We solicited bids on August the 11th and received 3 responses. Palmetto Landscaping and Lawn Care was the low bidder. The services would be for the quadrants at the 219 Interchange and the entrance only of the industrial park on 219. The amount of the low bidder is within budget, and we do recommend that the low bid is accepted. Palmetto Landscaping and Lawn Care is out of Clinton.
Do we have a clue why we've got a $30,000 to a $66,000 price range there?
No, I think currently the amount budgeted is $46,000, which is about what we're paying now. Is that right?
Okay. All right, you've heard the recommendation of Ms. Crystal Waldrop, Purchasing Director. What are the wishes of council?
Mr. Chairman, whoever we award this to, and I have no reason not to agree with Crystal to award it to the low bidder, but I have gotten and have seen myself a tremendous amount of negligence at that interchange. I've seen where people have littered. I don't know what our current contract is, but going forward, when we get a contract here, I don't want to dump on our Public Works Director, but I guess somebody's got to be in charge of making sure that whoever gets this contract is doing their job. And we need, and I didn't see in the verbiage that was presented a non-performance termination of contract. This was a 3-year contract. And if at any time they fail to perform to our expectations, we need to make sure that that's covered in that.
Yes, sir. That would be in our, when we sign the contract with them, that is in the county's.
Well, I'm just going by what was provided to us as that one-page document.
That's just the scope of work.
Okay, because those two things I think really need to happen. We need to have somebody oversight, and we need to have, make sure we can make sure they're meeting our expectations.
All right, do we have a motion to accept the recommendation? Do we already have that? No. Do we have a motion to accept it? Okay, Mr. Hill, second by Ms. Arrowood. Any discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Council consideration to approve Triangle Gun Club lease for 2021. Jay Toppiker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the Monday night meeting of the Public Works and Planning, I discussed this and the committee recommended it forward, but I wanted to explain it to you so you got the full flavor for it, those members that were not at the Public Works and Planning Commission. In 1990, we being Newberry County, agreed to lease with Alan Morrison property out near the old landfill, the discontinued landfill, for 20 years at a rental of $1 per year. Around February 2009, we made several changes to the lease. Among those changes, Mr. Morrison built a building out there. He has a skeet shooting range and some other activities. And he built a building, and based on the 2009 modification, we don't have to buy the building. That was in the original terms. We would have to reimburse this as if we end the lease. We would reimburse the lessee for the city water to the site because he had it put in. It was not there prior. We also added an option to terminate with 180 days notice from either party without any repercussions. We extended the term from January 1, 2011 to December 31st, 2030, with the lessee having the first option to renew for an additional 10 years, provided they give notice by November 1st, 2030. The lease would end December 31st, 2030. Mr. Morrison unfortunately passed away on August 31st, 2020. His wife was named as the personal representative of the estate. And when we contacted her, she requested that we assign, which is permitted by the underlying lease, the lease to her for the remainder of the term in a letter from her attorney, as well as her on July 19th, 2021. You should have a draft letter in your packet that I provided. If you give me approval for this, that letter will go out in the mail tomorrow. There's no reason that we would not recommend allowing this. I don't know if anyone wishes to speak to it, but Mr. Morrison has been a good corporate citizen for us and helps keep people sort of away from the landfill to an extent.
Okay. All right, you heard the explanation from Mr. Toppiker about the Triangle Gun Club lease. What are the wishes of council? We have a motion to move forward. Motion with Mr. Hill, second by Mr. Reeder. Any additional discussion? All in favor? It is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Toppiker. All right, item number 17, committee reports, Public Works and Planning, Mr. Mike Pisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 16th of August at 6 p.m., Public Works and Planning Committee met with Councilman Hipp in attendance and Councilman Shealy, constituting a quorum. There were two items on the agenda, one of them being the item that Mr. Toppiker just discussed, and the second one being the rebuilding of Thunder Road Bridge. That bridge was rebuilt after a storm in late 2019, early 2020. In July of 2020, it was destroyed by fire. We have not rebuilt the bridge yet. However, we do have materials to rebuild the bridge. In the past, when the bridge has been washed out, we had some people on the property owners on the road that were for rebuilding, some were against. With the latest fire, we thought that it would be prudent to ask the opinion of the people that own property along the road. So we sent letters out. We gave them the opportunity to come to the meeting on Monday. Several residents did come. They were all in favor of rebuilding the bridge. The committee recommended that we move forward with rebuilding the bridge and present it to council for consideration.
All right.
Any
Heard the
questions?
report. Again, thank y'all for Mr. Hipp, Mr. Shealy, thank y'all for being there for the meeting. Mr. Pisano, thank you as always for everything you do, especially keeping the roads and all safe. I know we get a lot of criticism about the roads, but the majority of them we get criticized for aren't ours. So again, just make sure you are appreciated for what you and your team does. We greatly appreciate that. So any comments from anybody that either on the committee or council members?
Mr. Chairman, just to make sure, we don't, this is already, Mr. Pisano told us the other night, it's already in the budget. We have the materials. So no action in the form of any kind of vote is required on this. Is that correct? That's just within the action to go forward by the Public Works.
Mr.
Chairman, Mr. Hipp, I think it would be beneficial for the benefit of Mr. Pisano, since he's heard from other people opposed to it, and it went to the committee, and the committee recommended it on, just for the council to do a voice vote if they're in favor of allowing him to do the work.
Just in support of going forward.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We don't need an agenda item and just move forward.
Yeah, just a vote.
Okay.
I'd like to make the motion
Make
to go forward.
Second.
All right. Everybody okay with supporting it going forward with that?
Yes.
Okay. All full support.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and thanks for the advice of Mr. Tothaker and Mr. Tony. Please appreciate you. Executive session not needed. Anybody got any appointments tonight?
I do.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hill.
I'd like to appoint Mr. Jeremy King, who lives on Walnut Street, to the Library Board.
Jeremy King to the to the Walmart board, on Walnut Street to the Library Board. You have a second to that one? Yes. You got a second? All in favor? It is unanimous. Anybody else, Mr. Hill?
None.
Anybody else? Okay, public comments. I think we've let everybody address that wants to address. Is that correct? Comments or requests from the county administrator?
I have nothing else, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, appreciate your continued service to Newberry County. Comments or requests from council members? Obviously, Mr. Shealy will be quiet tonight. Mr. Hill?
I'll be quiet, too.
Okay. Sarah Wood?
COVID has picked up, as you know. I actually had a friend who lives in the upstate who lost 2 family members within 4 days. One was a son and one was a husband. So, and they didn't believe in vaccinations, and I believe in you making your own choice. But everybody just try to stay safe and keep yourself at a distance, I guess.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
I just kind of echo what you said at the very beginning. What a terrible situation we had in our county on Sunday afternoon, I guess that was, Sunday evening. And just intentionally hitting cars, all those things. Had he been allowed to get on the interstate going the wrong way, there's no telling how many people would have died that day. And so all hats off to our law enforcement, and certainly our prayers for the family of the officer who had to use the deadly force. And we're blessed. We've got some of the greatest folks in Newberry County here, and I don't think we can ever underestimate what law enforcement across the board is dealing with in today's world. So I'm just grateful for them, but I'm grateful for everybody who serves this county in any capacity.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Reader?
Yeah, I agree with that totally. We actually have some great individuals doing different things for the county that's making the county a lot better. And we got difficult times coming up with this new coronavirus. I'm wishing everybody safety. It's going to be tough. I know a lot of things are being opened back up. We having that same problem right now with the school district, whether they should be wearing masks or not. I went into every school in Newberry County, and I didn't see many masks. And I was truly concerned about that. So of course, I left. Corona is no joke. It's taken a lot of lives. We reached over 10,000 lives in South Carolina now. And we don't need to have any more lives. And there are people who are taking it upon themselves. The mayor of Columbia, he's taking it upon himself to go ahead and make a mandate in the city that we do not, everybody has to wear masks. University of South Carolina and Clemson has decided that all their students and faculty need to be wearing masks. So it needs to be sent all the way to the governor's office. We really need to do what's best for the state of South Carolina.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Scurry.
Everybody try to stay safe. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, and I wasn't going to speak, but I think I will, because since the comments have come up about COVID, I just wanted to let you know that you're all correct. We are starting to see recurrences, unfortunately, of the virus, even here within the organization. So we being the staff, along with the attorney, are revisiting our COVID protocols. We may be coming to you, I may be coming to you, especially to you, Mr. Chairman, asking your advice or maybe some leeway as to how to handle certain situations, but we're quite aware of what's going on, and we're tracking it very closely. And like I said, we're revisiting the protocols to see if we need to tighten things up.
Okay. Thank you, and thanks for staying on top of that, because it is very serious. Just want to again say thanks to all council members tonight. We had a lot tonight on the table. A lot that wasn't necessarily easy. And again, this job is not always easy by any sense of the word. Thanks for the public, which a lot of them have already gone, but I hope them seeing that they can at least have a voice. I appreciate council allowing us to let each person speak before instead of going to the end, because I think it's much more valuable that way. So thank you all for agreeing to do that. With that being said, I think bookending the beginning with thanking our law enforcement, ending it with thanking our law enforcement, I don't think we can do that enough. Anyway, with that being said, that's all I have. Future meetings, County Council on September 1st, 6 p.m., Personnel and Intergovernmental, 9:13. County Council again on 9:15. And on that particular meeting, we will have an executive session to update the search for our new county administrator. That will be taking place then. With that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion second. All in favor? We are adjourned.